Hi, this is Phil Shapiro. I've started reading a really interesting book, Feedback That Moves Writers Forward by Patty Maggie. And even though I haven't finished reading the book, I had to make this book review because this book explains about a more humane way of teaching writing. And I believe that our schools should be more humane. So I had to make this book review even though I haven't finished reading the book. I'm so impressed with the book and I wanted to share my impressions so far. The subtitle of the book is How to Escape Correcting Mode to Transform Student Writing. So I work at a public library, and high school students and college students, they come to me with their assignments covered in red ink by their teachers or professors. And these students don't like writing in the first place. And after they've been coached on writing, they like writing even less. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. My philosophy is that after you've been coached on writing, at some point you should enjoy writing more. So that's what kind of one of the central themes about this book. I was really impressed. The book has a companion website that shows very nice thinking on the part of the publisher, Corwin Literacy. They're out of Thousand Oaks, California. And the author has provided video and web content throughout the book that's available to you through QR codes. To read a QR code, you must have a smartphone or tablet with a camera. Here is the author. Patty Maggie is an international literacy consultant. She's the recipient of the Millikan Educator Award, and she served as a supervisor of professional learning and literacy, a fourth grade teacher, an adjunct professor at Montclair State University in New Jersey. And you can visit her website, www.pattymcgee.org. This is from the back cover of the book. Patty Maggie should be called the writer whisperer. She offers brilliant advice for helping struggling writers, accomplished writers, and all those in between. And the quote is from Debbie Silver, co-author of Teaching Kids to Thrive. This is the rest of the back cover, and I'm not going to read all of it. I'll just read the bottom part, which is excellent. One of the bravest things we can do as teachers is to admit that a long-held practice isn't working. Error-focused feedback is one such practice. So put down the red pen, pick up this book, and learn to say the right things at the right time to develop fearless, original, and intentional writers in any content area. In this book, the author refers back to the writing process and the pioneering work of Donald Graves and Janet Emig, who back in the 1970s. So I had to look this up in Wikipedia, and I felt I should share it right here in the book review because the author is giving homage to these pioneering thinkers. So the writing process approach rests on the premise that writing is a complex and individualized task which can be described through a series of recursive stages. So this is a very moving passage in the book. I scanned the first paragraph, and I think I scanned the third paragraph. I left out the second, but you'll get the idea. It's very interesting. First, there's Maggie, a third grader I met recently when I was invited to model conferring in front of a dozen teachers. I'm guessing you have a Maggie in your classroom, or maybe a few Maggies. She's the writer who struggles and shuts down, the writer who keeps you and her other teachers up at night. She's one of the writers who falls into themselves when it is time to write, her body hunching down and her facial expression becoming an armor. It is as though almost every word she etches on the page causes pain. She's also the kind of student who the teacher usually asks me to work with when I'm in their classrooms. And then one or two paragraphs later, this is what happens. Maggie lifted her head and looked me in the eye. Her shoulders seemed to relax and she nodded. I could tell she was ready to try something new. I shared a sketching strategy with her, one where she might sketch each part of the story she was writing as a way to help her plan her writing. To my joy and relief, she jumped right into it, a broad smile spreading across her face. At that moment, I looked up at the teachers. They all had tears in their eyes. Later, I learned that Maggie almost never smiles. Here's the conclusion of the book. I like this. I'm going to read just a piece. My hope is that this book feels like a call to action with the tools at the ready, an eager invitation to revolutionize the sorts of feedbacks writers receive from the moment they place a pencil to paper until they have found their voice through owning and growing their writing identity and process across their years of schooling. So this is all about supporting writers as agents, agency. I like that reference. She talked about writers' agency, which is a project-based learning kind of concept. All the smart educators are thinking and talking about those kinds of concepts. One thing I really liked about this book is there's lots of reference to other excellent books. So here's a reference to Best Practices in Writing Instruction from 2013. So I had to look this up on Amazon. Here's that book, Best Practices in Writing Instruction by Steve Graham, Charles MacArthur, and Jill Fitzgerald. So I'm going to have to take a look at this book. It looks really intriguing. And then there's a reference to this other book, 10 Mind Frames for Visible Learning, Teaching for Success. This book hasn't been published yet, by John Hattie and Klaus Zierer, Z-I-E-R-E-R. Zierer or Zierer. This book hasn't been published yet, but I'm going to keep my eye out for it because it looks like it might be excellent. And the recommender is somebody who has a lot of credibility. If you found this book review interesting, you can find other reviews I've done, sites.google.com/site/Phil Shapiro Book Reviews. I made the screencast using Simple Screen Recorder, free software, open source, on my ThinkPad Lenovo. Audio is recorded on my Olympus digital audio recorder. I have a Logitech webcam. I use GUVC webcam software on this laptop. Some of my other laptops that I have, I use Komoso webcam software or Cheese. Here's how you can contact me, Phil Shapiro, pshapiro@his.com, Phil Shapiro on Twitter. There's my YouTube channel. You can support these book reviews if you have a YouTube account. Anybody with a Gmail can log into YouTube, and then you have a YouTube account. You do not have to be a YouTube producer to have a YouTube account. And it's a nice way, it's a vote of confidence for YouTube producers to have one extra subscriber. I have about 1,300 subscribers, which I consider not that large, but I'd like to have 2,000 or 5,000. So you can help me move in that direction. I have a Patreon account. People can make a small donation each month. And this is what my Patreon account looks like. I support a lot of other people on Patreon. I really love the Patreon concept. And if you'd like to practice Patreon pledging, feel free to practice on me. Now, I should say one other thing about this really interesting book. We don't have on our planet Earth an annual award for books that make teaching and learning more humane. But maybe we do need an award like that. And that, if we had an award, this book might win this year's award. So somebody out there might set up such an award, the Humane Education Book Award. It could be a family foundation. It could be an individual. But I'd love to see that because I've encountered a number of books in the last 2 years that I think would be award-winning books about how learning can become more humane. And maybe wouldn't it be nice to have a website listing all the different books on that kind of topic? It would be helpful for students and teachers and make the world a kinder place. Kinder is maybe good, don't you think? And that's it for this book review. See you next time.